Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you had a good day. My day was awesome. I spent the day over at the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve and checked out the schoolhouse, which was really interesting. I've never been there before. I used to drive by that place all the time when I was going to college, and I would drive the Flint Hills Scenic Byway, which, you know, that's the road that passes where the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve is. And I'd always see that schoolhouse, and I thought, man, I gotta stop there one of these days and check it out. So I was glad I was able to do that. They've got it all restored, and the restoration effort took place back in the 70s. And the schoolhouse would have anywhere from 1 student to 19 students each year, and it was pretty interesting just to read about the history of it. So all of the video that I have of the main ranch house and then also the schoolhouse, there's a lot of it, and I'm going to put that into a video. It's probably going to take me a couple days to make that. So, but in this video, I wanted to talk about 2 things. One, I wanted to address and identify what actually, off-grid is, because I get a lot of people hitting me up and saying, well, you uploaded a video, so you can't be off-grid, or you have cell reception, so you're not off-grid, you're on-grid, and that's not correct. Like, off-grid just simply means that you're not tied to public utilities. It's like you're not tied to the electrical grid, therefore it's off-grid. You're not tied to the water system or anything like that. And so I think there's a big misconception out there as to what off-grid means. Like if you're living like a hermit in the middle of nowhere, and you say I'm a hermit, but you're online all the time, well, then I understand there'd be a little bit of confusion there. But off-grid is just simply not being tied to public utilities. And cell phone reception now, I mean, it just keeps expanding and expanding. They've got towers on the top of mountains now in Colorado, so you can be way back in the backcountry and still have a cell reception, which is great because there's that way people can call if they need help or if they get lost or something like that. It's great to have that service, but that doesn't mean that you're on grid if you have a cell phone reception or anything like that. Now, as far as my dedicated hotspot is concerned, that's through a Wi-Fi router, but it runs off the cellular network, so I'm not plugged in. I don't have like a hardwire plug-in. If I can get cell reception, then I can get the router going, which is what I have out here, and that's how I upload these videos. And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about was the response to the video that I put up about the Unexplained event that happened to me in Colorado a couple years ago. 99% of everyone's been super positive, and I really appreciate all the comments. I also appreciate the education in what other people have experienced in similar situations, because I've not really done much research on it. And so all signs point to what is typically known as like a Sasquatch or Bigfoot encounter. Like I said, though, I didn't see the animal like clearly. I saw it running away from me at a high rate of speed, jumping over all these logs and just cooking through the forest, and it was much larger than anything I've ever seen before. But I mean, I don't know, I can't say definitively yes, it was Sasquatch. It could, like other people have said other things, like I don't even think I'm pronouncing this word right, but Nephilim. It's like the sons of God that procreated with women from Earth. It's in Genesis in the Bible. It talks about the race of giants and stuff like that. I don't know much about it, but I've looked it up, and it seems pretty interesting. Another one is, they call it the Dog Man. I don't know anything about that. Other people have said shapeshifters. I've looked into that Skinwalker Ranch that's out in Arizona. That seems pretty interesting. Once again, I don't know much about it. And the thing that I do know is it wasn't a bear and it wasn't a moose, and it was covered in dark fur, and it was extremely big, and it was running at an extremely high rate. And before I got up to that ridge, like I was saying in that video, there was something throwing some bowling ball sized rocks at me or at my camp. And so I'm not in denial about anything, but I can't say 100% that that's what it was, because like I said, I didn't get that great of a look at it. All I know is it scared the hell out of me, and the absence of any noise in the forest was a dead giveaway that something was amiss. And so, I don't mean to offend anyone by not saying definitively that's what it was. On the other hand, I'm not trying to offend anyone that doesn't believe that stuff. Y'all can make your own conclusions, but I've been back here now full-time for almost 5 years, and 9 times out of 10, I'd say 999,000 or whatever that number is, out of a million, you're not going to run into stuff like that, And I hope to never have an experience like that again. on top of it too, I don't really think it matters the caliber you have against an animal like that was that big and running that fast. I don't know if you'd be able to get a shot off before it would close the distance. You know, I just don't know. I have never had any experience with that. I don't have any experience with it other than the brief few seconds that I saw it. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't you get it on camera? And I think that it's just a disconnect. It's like, why, if you're being threatened at camp, why would you grab your camera? You know, like you grab your weapon. Like that's what you do. If you think that you're really in danger, you're not going to go grab your camera and go take pictures of it. So hang on a second, my memory card's getting low. I want to continue addressing this. Hang on, I'll be right back. Let's see here. All right, we're back. Cleared out some space off the memory card. But what I was saying was about everybody was like, why didn't you grab your camera? I think that's probably the last thing you do when you're being threatened by yourself in the backcountry. You don't grab your camera. Like, that's just dumb. And so I understand that people wanted to have photo evidence. Hell, I'd like to have it too, of an animal running away from me that was massive and that I've never seen operate like that in the backcountry. But, you know, number one, I didn't think I was going to run into anything remotely like that when I got up to the ridge. And number two, like I said, if you're being threatened at camp, you don't grab your camera. That's that's just stupid. And one other thing that I want to talk about, and I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but I did have one other incident when I was hiking along. Let's see, where was I? I was on the West Tennessee Lakes Trail, and I was heading up to this cluster of 4 lakes near Leadville, Colorado, and I came across a scenario which I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And it was all these trees that were about that big around, like these pine trees that were about that big around, and it looked like they were just pulled out of the ground, and like the tap root was snapped, and so it was pulled out, and the roots were all snapped, and it was turned upside down and stuck in the ground, and there were about 10 trees that were like that. And I thought, man, this is weird. This is in the wilderness area, and you can't get machinery back in here, and how the hell would somebody pull those out of the ground and stick them upside down in the ground? And it kind of made it was weird. It wasn't like a lean-to or a teepee or anything like that as far as the way the logs were positioned. It kind of was a little bit on one side, but it was open on the other side. And I went inside of it. There wasn't anything in there. I didn't see any trace of animals, but I just found that to be really odd because, I mean, nobody could do that. If, you know, a normal human couldn't do that. And animals aren't doing that back there. I mean, bears and moose, they don't have thumbs, so you know they can't grab that and pull it out, turn it upside down, and stick it back in the ground. So I have read some stuff up on that, and there are people that are Sasquatch experts or whatever they want to call themselves that say that is indicative of that sort of behavior. So there's a documentary, or not a documentary, there's a TV series coming out, and apparently it's from some people that are doctors, and they're one is like a primate specialist, and another one is, I think, I gotta have to look it up. I'll put the link in the video description below. But apparently there's a series coming out. My friend Robin Martin on Facebook, he was the one that clued me in on it, and I'll look through his page and whoops, fire's going out. Oh man, it's hot. I'll look through his page and get that link and put it up here. But apparently the doctor that was in there, the one that has the PhD, was like, look, I went in this thinking that there was no such thing as evidence of any sort of skunk ape or Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Yeti or whatever you want to call it. And she came out and said, you know, that we've got evidence that shows that there's something like that exists. So I'm excited to see that, because, you know, before I had my experience, I was always like, nah, that's not true. It's just, you know, it's not true. Like, until you see photo evidence, I'm kind of one of those people. Until you see actual documentation of it or see it firsthand, it's hard to believe those stories. But after experiencing what I did, I'm open to anything. So just wanted to address that. I appreciate everybody who's commented and made some positive comments. And I appreciate, too, the people telling their stories, because it sounds like what I experienced is very similar to what other people have experienced when they've been in the backcountry. So, I mean, I'm not making this up. There's no bullshit whatsoever. I was actually kind of nervous to put that out because I thought people might think I was a total weirdo. But I'm glad at the overwhelming response. And I've been following Steve from How to Hunt. And that dude seems totally legit to me. You know, he's been in the backcountry for what, decades, been guiding all that stuff. And if anybody's gonna know if there's something out of the ordinary when he's back in there, it's gonna be people like that. And those are the people that I trust the most when I hear these stories. And I'm not discrediting anybody else that doesn't live in that sort of manner, but it's like when you're back there and you know how things operate in the backcountry, and you've been around bear and moose and elk and all sorts of different large animals back there, and then you have something that is larger than that that totally doesn't act like anything else that you've ever come into contact with, you know, it gets you thinking that maybe the pecking order back here wasn't quite what you thought it was, and that you're in a little bit more danger than you would originally think. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Oh, and one other thing too is, like, again, I get a kick out of people that like troll me and they don't spell right. So like, if you're gonna troll me, just use spell check. Otherwise, I just won't take your comment seriously. But like I said, 99% of everyone's been super positive. So I'm gonna chill here with Sierra tonight. She's already had her dinner, and she's I got that little bandana on her because this is the first day of hunting season around here for or I think it's second rifle. So it's the second section of hunting season for white-tailed deer. And for dinner, what I'm gonna do is let me show you. I've got a sweet potato that I'm gonna cube up and throw and brown up, and then I've got some organic smoked ham, which is really good, and then I've got some yogurt here, some vanilla yogurt. And so probably got a little bit of honey that I'm going to throw in there as well into the yogurt, and that's what I'm going to do for dinner tonight. So just looking forward to kind of chilling out. It was a fun day out at the preserve, but I'm kind of tired and I'm ready just to relax for the night. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, hit me up in the section below. Thanks.